Sox in the basement.
I'm the Sox nerd with my weekly Sox Thumper. Who swiped 25 bases in 27 attempts for a 93% success rate for the 2009 White Sox? I'll have the answer at the end of my spiel later in the podcast.
My favorite comment of the week on the YouTube channel. And again, like 97%, I think, of listeners are still listening to this show. But my favorite comment on the YouTube channel was, "That guy is still hiding behind the microphone. Why does he do that?" And my response, which I think is now going to be my standard, is he's hideously ugly and we're covering him up. That's what I do on my.
True.
That's what my dating apps look
true.
like too. I'm on the dating apps. That's what I've got as well. Just a bunch of pictures of me with a microphone in front of me.
Yeah, well, and why not?
Why not? Use it to your advantage. I'm a radio guy.
Not?
Here's the thing.
We're only a few years removed from the pandemic. Everybody remembers you'd see somebody with a mask on and be like, "Oh, hey," and then you'd see them with the mask off and be like, "Oh, hey."
Here's the thing. I want a better camera angle. Anytime I go from a different angle in this very cramped space that I'm currently in, it looks worse, okay? And there's a new studio being built in the heart of Evergreen Park at 95th and Kedzie. It's almost done. And so very soon I will be in a different location. The studios will move to a different location. And it's actually part of a wine bar that's over there. So I'll be bombed all the time because I'm attached to that wine bar. They got great food and they got great wine. So it's going to be a completely different show, and I'll have a much better camera angle. So just hang in there for a little bit, and we'll get you the better camera angle. Doesn't matter what the camera angle is for the White Sox right now. I love them. Munetaka Murakami is probably going to hit 60-some home runs this year. I actually tweeted out the other day that I wanted to lay this out for everybody. So I'm going to do it on the show, too, for anybody that doesn't use the social media. I do not consider Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, any of their single-season home run totals from any of those years to be legitimate. I think there's a mountain of evidence. There's all kinds of indications there was cheating. I don't think they reached those numbers without cheating. And so when Roger Maris's record was broken by Aaron Judge, I said 62 is a new mark. And I think that's why the Maris family was there, because I think they feel that way as well. And you can make the argument that the balls were juiced a little bit that year. So fine, I'll go to 61. But it's definitely not 73 or whatever the hell Bonds had. Like, it's definitely not 70 what McGwire had. I don't see it that way. And I put that out there on social media, basically saying, like, if Mune hits 62, it may be the most legit record when it comes to home runs in Major League Baseball. And I want to just say it now as May is ending, because he's on a pace for 59 as we're sitting here and we're talking. And I think he's just getting warmed up because he's not very good in cold weather. And a very hot summer, I believe, is about to start here on the South Side. It already has started. And that's why he's red hot right now. And he is a streaky home run hitter, but man, when he gets going, just bomb after bomb after bomb. So I put that out there. The only people that seem to get angry with it are people that when I looked in their profiles were Giants fans. They didn't like that.
Yeah, well, I can understand. Where Giants fans, Cardinals fans, and Cubs fans would have a little bit of a bone to pick with you.
Yeah, but I don't care what they say because they're wrong.
I know. Right. Well,
Barry Bonds' head swelled to an enormous size. He was using something that only horses are supposed to use, and there seems to be a mountain of evidence for it. I don't know if I'm even supposed to say allegedly anymore about that. Something makes me think that it's not even just allegedly anymore. I might have to technically say allegedly he did it, but I mean, it's pretty obvious. And the Hall of Fame has kept these guys out for a reason, whether you agree with it or not. So I'm just saying, if Mune hits 62, he's my home run champion. All right.
I mean, we're White Sox fans. That's the way that's supposed to work anyway.
But I think he's a home run champion for everybody who's not delusional.
Well, yes. And that's, like I said, we're White Sox fans. We may be the only fan base that's not. I'm going to ignite a match with that one. There we go.
Listen, before we get into this show, and I've got some good stuff here on the show, and Sox Nerd is on. You heard him at the very beginning. We'll get the answer to that and all of his nuggets later on in the show. Remember, if you're switching to a new age of life, Hyatt Home Medical Equipment is where you go. Keep mom and dad, grandma and grandpa out of assisted living, making sure they can get around on their own and live independently with stair lifts, ramps, grab bars, lift chairs, and even bathroom remodeling. They work with insurance, have 0% financing for qualified individuals. If you are into CPAP machines and you're unhappy with your vendor, they have the latest and greatest in that. They also have continuous glucose monitors and so much more. Lord knows I'll probably have to start using Hyatt myself. I tripped on the curb the other day walking into this studio, and my foot is just throbbing. And I'm just convinced that this old man found a way to trip on a curb and probably break a bone in the bottom of his foot. And I'm just lacing up the shoe as tight as I can and moving forward, Ed. We're doing that. I'm not having this looked
I've been
at.
there in the past couple of weeks, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, I refuse whatever boot they'd want to put me in for the whole summer. I'm not doing it. So we're lacing it up tight and we're moving forward. But if you want to be smarter than me, check out Hyatt Home Medical Equipment at hhme.com. I want to talk today a little bit about the differences that are now becoming more pronounced in White Sox fans. And I want to preface this with saying I don't have a problem with any of you. Like, there's nothing wrong with your fandom.
We're all Sox fans. We're all pulling for the same team. It's all good. However you want to root for this team.
Right.
You do you.
You do you. This is not me putting down how you fan. I'm not
You're
doing
not gatekeeping.
I'm
You're
not
gatekeeping today.
No, I'm not putting it down. Even if I disagree with things that you say to me, I'm not putting it down. And the reason that this is becoming a thing for me is that I hate social media. I've talked about this before. I don't even keep it on my phone, but they're so good. And I'm sitting there watching games now, and I'm so into it that I've now put some of the social media back on my phone because I just want to talk about the game as it's happening. Right?
Right.
Like, I just want to, I have an observation. I'm like, I could call dad, I could say it to the kids, or I can spout it out on Sox in the Basement's X account. Like, I can do that. I can tweet it. So I'm like, so I put it back on there.
Or you could text your co-host.
I could. I have texted you. I have.
Yeah, you have.
But sometimes I'm just like, this one has to be put out to the masses. Like the other day I put one out and I was like, now that they're good, the hardest thing about them being a winning team is that you will have losses that make you angry.
Like the other day against the Twins.
I mean, it was brutal at the end, right?
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. This is the second time in a calendar week that I've watched Will Venable and his coaching staff biff it at the end of a game. We talked about the last time, and now I have another one because they could have theoretically swept all 4 games against the Twins. And game 2 of that, you have a lackluster offensive performance. Then you get the newest guy added into your lineup who gets on base, and then Munetaka Murakami hits a moonshot, or a Moon shot. And then you have a tie ball game. You have a great play by the new guy from right field, burning somebody down for the second straight day at home plate. You got a crowd that's ignited. You start off with this stupid runner on second base. I still hate the rule, but you do have a guy in scoring position. You go for the bunt. Now, here's the deal. I know there are some people who are like, that's the only move. You always bunt. You and I were debating it before the show. You're like, hey, move the guy over to third. It increases my chances of scoring. I'm like, he's already in scoring position. There's nothing wrong with trying to get a hit. Base hit should score him, or at least most base hits would. But we can make that argument back and forth till the cows come home. But once there's 2 strikes, I think you have lowered your odds of a positive play from a bunt attempt with 2 strikes on you to a level where I think you should pull back the bat and you should swing. I mean, the pitcher knows you're trying to lay down a bunt. The pitcher can go high and tight or go away like that pitcher did and force you to stab at it. And at that point with 2 strikes, I would have pulled it back and I would have swung. I think, again, that was the second time in a calendar week that I watched the obsession with the bunt become too obsessive by telling him, no, we're keeping the bunt on with 2 strikes. I think it was a massive mistake. And then after that happens, you have the snafu over at first base. You watch, I think, bad coaching over there as well. And I watched the team take an opportunity and flush it. And I was annoyed about it, but it opened up an awful lot of debate. Well, I mean, were you as angry as I was at the end of that game?
Yeah, because I now I don't have a problem with them sending the rookie up to bunt. Okay, allegedly he can handle the bat. He looked bad on his first 2 attempts, and at that point, you yell at him to take his time. Okay, you even if you're screaming it so that the Twins know what you're doing, you take the bunt off.
Oh, they already know what you're doing.
No, I'm just saying.
He's one of the most predictable managers in Major League Baseball. You may hate me for saying it, but it's true.
Before your Will Venable hate is starting to become an issue here. I'm saying you tell the rookie, you scream at him, do not effing bunt. Okay. Don't forget the signals. Just yell at him to swing away, because all he has to do is hit a ground ball up the middle or the right side if he's moving the guy over, or if he gets the base hit, you're right. You score that run. Okay. And game over. And now the rookie's on cloud nine because he's gunned the guy down to preserve the tie, and he's driven in the winning run. But if they told him to keep it on, that is a huge coaching mistake. And then at first base, the bigger mistake that you didn't mention was Sam Antonacci doesn't run that entire at bat for Murakami. He doesn't take second on first pitch, he should have been running, because they're not going to throw through, because they're not going to risk a guy coming home from third. Everybody knows that. Antonacci shouldn't have been on first. And I can sort of forgive on the replay when I saw how short the hop was that Josh Bell catches that ball off the ground. I could see where Antonacci, I could see where the first base coach are confused whether or not that was caught on the fly in the moment, but it's academic. If Antonacci goes back to second because he thinks it's caught on the fly, and they send the runner back to third before they realize it was actually a ground ball, you at least have one more at bat to try and score that run. And the fact that you have a runner on first, it turns into an easy double play, because I don't care who's running over there. I don't know if anybody would know what to do in that moment, because if he stands on first, he's out. And if he doesn't stand on first, he's going to get caught in a rundown, or he's going to get thrown out. So they needed to have runners at second and third with Murakami on first. It's a breakdown based on the idea that you just knew that Nishida was going to get the bunt down, and he didn't do it. And then you're like, now what?
Yeah. And everybody advances that runner when there's less than 2 outs in extra innings, when there's a runner at first and third. I've been watching it all year long from every other team. That was a brain fart, to say the least. For exterior windows, doors, patio doors, and storm doors, look no further than Window and Door Superstore of Oak Forest. No high pressure sales. They're not in your kitchen or your living room. They're not using your bathroom. That's weird. Instead, you're going to their showroom. Use their bathroom. I think they got one there. I've been in there a few different times. Anyway, get in there and see all the window etchings and the doorknobs and all the different options that you have. There's an owner on site there to answer all of your questions. During install, there's an owner there as well to make sure the job gets done right. Plus, they use all of their own installers. They don't farm out the work. They've been doing it that way in Oak Forest since 1985 with all major brands custom made and no stock items for a perfect fit. Window and Door Superstore of Oak Forest is a half block east of 159th and Ridgeland at 6280 159th Street. See more at windowdooroakforest.com. The fandom in that building, because I've spoken with them recently, they see playoffs, and they were saying that weeks ago to me, so I'm sure they're very happy about it. And trust, I don't hate Will Venable. I just think it's okay to question some of the stuff that he does.
Oh, no.
People think I hate Will Venable. I do not hate Will Venable. This goes to the thing I want to talk about, the different way that fans react to things, because there is an extreme side of the fandom that you can't say anything negative ever, because then you just are just a bad fan, or you just, you're not ride or die or something like that. It's okay to sit there and say he's a little predictable in game, like I did on the last show. I mean, look, right before game 4 of this series against the Twins, they get a guy who's got arm trouble. They switch pitchers. They go from a lefty to a righty, if I'm not mistaken, and he goes and he changes his whole lineup. Now, that's predictable. He's right. Me saying that's predictable does not mean he's right. He should definitely put in his best lineup for that type of pitcher. That's what he should be doing, right? But then also I should be able to point out that, he has certain tendencies when it comes to the bunt, how he likes to create runs, how he likes to advance runners, and his platooning style that makes him a little predictable. And I think it's okay to say that, because as we get into more important games and as his career continues, how this season continues and future seasons continue, I think it's important to watch that, because he's got to kind of learn how to switch things up, and that there's more than one way to create a run or win a game. And you're right, that thing where you don't move Antonacci over to second base, it really was the most glaring thing. The bunt annoyed me. I don't know what was going on the ball that got hit over to first, but you're right. If Antonacci's standing on second, they probably still end up winning that game, even with the other things that I'm nitpicking.
Yeah, and nitpicking the manager is what you do with good teams. I mean, we are now in a position where I think one of the more interesting aspects of the fandom are the people who are still looking at the prospects and are still sitting there saying things like, uh, at some point, Jacob Gonzalez is going to force Chris Getz's hand. No, he's not.
No, he's not.
He's not. Because you're not replacing Chase Mydroth, who, by the way, just hit a grand slam last night and has been playing very, very well. You're not replacing Colson Montgomery. You're not replacing Miguel Vargas, who's still ranked among the top third basemen in Major League Baseball for everything that he is and isn't.
And I don't think it's a foregone conclusion, even if you believe that they're getting Rock Chalowski, and I still believe that that's who they'll end up getting, and that's who they probably should get. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that when he gets to the major leagues, that Colson Montgomery, who's one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball right now, is getting moved to third base.
No, because I also, watching him at third base in that modified lineup, I don't think he looks as comfortable at third base. Miguel Vargas is a lot better over there than Colson Montgomery is. Rock Chalowski may be your third baseman. Rock Chalowski may be an outfielder. I don't think the future is written, and I don't think we're in a position. Now, this is me saying this. I don't think we're in a position to worry about what prospects are doing unless there's a glaring need. If you're looking at Charlotte and you're wondering why Ben Peoples isn't up here because he's pitching lights out and they clearly need help in the bullpen, that's one thing. If you're looking at Jacob Gonzalez, I'm looking at a guy who's got no position and no opening for him on the current major league roster because he's not better than what you have at the major league level. And it's not time to sit here and find out, are the prospects better than what we have now? Because they're a winning team.
Well, I see fans that are still hung up on all the guys that are still coming. And I get that because you've been conditioned to do that. Like, this is another thing that I sent out on social media, which shows another part of the fan base, the perpetual rebuilders. Because after they win game 3...
Because we've only been in one for 20 years.
Like I said, you're conditioned, right? Like, depending on how old you are, also I don't want to be an ageist here, but it may change the way that you view this team. Like, if you, in your formative years, grew up with we just rebuild, and this is how you rebuild. You tear your whole thing down to the studs. It's the only way to do it. And then you go out and get a bunch of prospects. That's the only way to do it. And then when it doesn't work out, you tear it all back down to the studs. Like, not everybody does that. But there's a contingent of White Sox fans that in their formative years watch the Cubs do that, win a World Series. Luckily, I mean, it took them down to the very end of Game 7 to be able to do it. What if they don't actually get that World Series? What if Cleveland wins that game? That story's completely different. But Cleveland losing that game to the Cubs and them winning a World Series, the White Sox use that to condition you on the idea that this is the only way to build a team. So there's a whole group out there that's always in a rebuild. They've been in a rebuild mindset their entire lives. And so for me, I look at this. I tweeted it after they won the third game of the series against the Twins, where it's the biggest margin of victory, I believe, that they've had since 2020. And I said, rebuild's over. You've got a competitive team. Let's go win. Let's win as many games we can. Extend Murakami, and this is your team. And when I say that, I'm not saying that nobody else is coming up. But there's a lot of professional ball players on this team that are doing things right now. I mean, Miguel Vargas is proving me wrong on a daily basis about him. And I love him for it. If I see him, I'll give him a big, giant hug and tell him I was wrong. I hope I still feel that way in July and August, but I think I might. And this team right now has a lot of players on it that it's clicking very well. They're doing very well. I think it's okay to say that the rebuild portion is over. It does not mean you will not add young players. It does not mean that everybody that's on the roster now is on the roster in 3 years. But I think your core, or a big portion of what's going to be on this team when it competes for championships, may actually be on this team. Like, I see people that are like, no, it's not over until Caleb Bonnemer gets here. He's in single A. And he's got some holes in his game already when you talk to prospect guys, and they still think he's going to be good. There's a reason he's in like the top 30, I think, on MLB Pipeline's top 100 prospects, but he isn't coming here for a couple years. Are you really in a rebuild until then? Does none of this matter to you? Like, take a breath, for crying out loud. You can still draft Rock Chalowski and be like, he's going to get here at some point. But you know what's the perfect thing is? When he's ready to come up, not being sure where to put him. Because
it's a beautiful thing.
You want that kind of stuff. And that's what I mean when I say that the rebuild, feels over. Like, I feel like this is the next phase. Doesn't mean you don't keep building. Doesn't mean that there isn't a guy like Braden Montgomery getting here. We got Kyle Teal coming back very soon from his injury. There are young players down there, but I've seen people put out tweets that until Billy Carlson makes it here to play in the infield, like, that's the long-term plan. Why are you
and maybe
rooting?
It is.
Yeah, but why are you rooting for the failure of the guys that are currently up here winning?
Well, and that's what I don't, that's the part of this that I don't get is in order for these prospects to have a home, okay, and the guys that are close in particular, you have to basically sit here and say, I don't like the current roster and I think these guys suck. And I don't get how that helps anybody. I mean, just sit back and enjoy what's at the major league level and worry about Caleb Bonham in a couple of years. Worry about Rock Chalowski when he's ready. Worry about Billy Carlson when he's ready. Because if they're really ready, going back to the idea that a prospect will force Chris Getz's hand, if they're really ready and they are showing themselves to be better than what is at the major league level, room will be made for them. And it might mean at that point, getting rid of a player that we actually really like, it's just a question of when with these prospects, but that's what you want in a rebuild. Okay. The rebuild is over from the tear it down to the studs and then get a competitive team. I agree with you, Chris. But what you do as a franchise to sustain it is there's always some guys that are a couple of years away that you look at and go, when this guy gets here, he's going to be really good, because not all of these guys are going to be here in 3 years. Not all of these guys are going to be signed to long-term deals. Not all of these guys are going to be affordable in arbitration or worth the money that they're going to earn. And you are going to have other holes that you can fill if you know in 3 years that Chase Meidroth is not as good as Billy Carlson would be at second base for you, and you want to put Billy Carlson in there, and Chase Meidroth will bring you the pitcher that you so desperately need in the rotation because that's where your hole is, then that's what you do. And that's how franchises continue to win when you're not the Dodgers deferring money until the end of time, or you're not the Mets spending on anything and everything that walks in the door, or the Yankees who can just, seemingly baffle people into buying their terrible prospects for good players. You have sustainability. That's what Billy Carlson and Kano Bonham and eventually Rock Chalowski are.
Yeah, some of these guys may be pieces you trade later on when you're headed to the playoffs and you think you have a chance of actually winning it all. They're not all going to make it here, and some of them may never actually work out. I'll get into that here in a moment. Moose Vinyl is an application for record collectors to manage their record collections, buy and sell records. It's available on your iPhone, coming to Android very, very soon. A very quick search on the internet on Moose Vinyl and comparing it to other services like this, those that are more popular, you will get the feedback instantly from people that have tried it that Moose Vinyl is the most user-friendly app for this. This is the new wave, the new thing for record collectors. And it's really cool. I've met these guys. They're from the South Side, and they actually have a brick and mortar place now in Lamont. Right in the middle of Lamont downtown at 306 Canal Street at, I want to believe that is Canal and Main, where it's at. You get over there to Moose Vinyl, and they have turntables, vintage audio equipment, discount through July. The B-Sides at Moose Vinyl is the brick and mortar store. Moose Vinyl is the app. Check it all out. You will thank me for it later. Here's the other thing. Go back and look at MLB Pipeline. Top 100 prospects. Throw in a year like 2018 or 2019. Look at the amount of guys that we were like, wait until these guys all make it here, how good we're going to be. And then think about what they ended up being. And then look at the list in totality and notice that about 50% of them on that list never really became Major League Baseball players of note. It does not matter what a prospect is ranked in the minor leagues. It is not a guarantee he is going to be good. And if he's not on the list, that is also not a guarantee that he won't be good either. Sam Antonacci was never on that list.
Chase Meidroth wasn't on that list.
Nope. And guess what? You love them right now. And there are plenty of other players that are on that list that aren't going to work out. I mean, look at the Twins who you just played. Royce Lewis used to be one of the can't-miss prospects in baseball.
So was Lee. So
Yes.
Luke Keyshaw was one of the can't miss.
Yeah,
He's pretty good.
Royce Lewis isn't even on the team right now.
No, he's not.
I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, they don't always work out. So if you're a fan, I get
Remember, Yohan Moncada was the top prospect in baseball when
Yes.
the White Sox traded for him.
He was the number one overall prospect in baseball. That's what he was. He didn't strike fear into the hearts of anybody. So here's the thing. You may love the prospects. They're really fun to kind of get excited about. Heck, we bring James Fox on from Future Sox once every month or so to talk about it. And a lot of the stuff he talks about is really good information. But even he will admit to you that the war of attrition and the probability of guys working out, it is very imperfect. Development is not linear. And there's a good portion of guys that aren't actually going to be what is promised. So you should be happy that here's a team in a season in 2026 where when I said 2 years ago, when Chris Getz took over, that I wanted this team to compete in 2026, and everybody laughed at that. I was a crazy person when I said that. When I said that's what I want from this team, competitiveness by 26, when I would have people on who were prospect heads on this show, they would be like, yeah, Chris, it's not happening. They'd chuckle when I would ask the question. You're ahead of schedule. This team, you know what they should have been? An under 500 team that was showing some hope, that sometime after the All-Star break gelled, gave you an awful lot of hope, played well in the second half. Then we have to sit through probably a labor stoppage. And then we're just hoping that when they come back, they can get that spark back again because it's just a taste of what could happen down the line. They are way ahead of that. So stop looking at the guys that are down in the minor leagues and waiting for them to come up and take the job of a guy who's young and performing for you right now. You're right. This may not be the second baseman in 3 years. He could actually be, though, the second baseman in 3 years. This could not be. Colson Montgomery may have to get moved, but he may actually be a Gold Glove shortstop that has multiple All-Star appearances. Why are you so quick to say we're going to draft this guy or we're going to develop this guy to still down an A ball or double A ball? He's going to take his job one day and we're going to push him off to the side. Yes, it may happen, but it's okay right now to say, no, this is a winning baseball team. Because this is a winning baseball team. Bob Costas is coming to do the broadcast with Steve Stone to kick off the homestand where the Braves come to town, followed by the Dodgers. He isn't coming if he doesn't believe that he's got a team with a winning record, and they should have a winning record when that series starts. Looking at their schedule, they should have a winning record when that series starts. They should take 2 out of 3 from Detroit. They should go beat up on the Twins up in Minnesota. Maybe take 2 out of 3. Maybe they lose 2 out of 3 in Philadelphia. That's quite possible. There's still several games over 500 when that series starts. And also, what a comical upgrade in play-by-play ability to have him take over for Schriffen for a game. Don't get spoiled, folks.
Yeah.
This is like, you're just, hanging out with some girl, like, from the neighborhood who's like, she's sweet, but like, there's some flaws. And then all of a sudden Sydney Sweeney goes out with you for a night.
Don't get spoiled.
You're going to be spoiled. When Sydney goes, that was just a one night date. I'm going back to LA. I mean, that's what this is going to feel like. But I mean, I'm going to tell you something. It's going to be fun to watch. He's going to do everything that I always say that a pro baseball announcer should do. He's going to shut up when the play is happening. He's not going to sing along with nada, nada. Right? If there's a home run and a blowout, he's not going to fall out of his shoes. It's going to be a lesson. It's going to be some good tape on how you do this stuff. He is going to pine about the Yankees at some point, even though they're not playing in the game. But otherwise, it's going to be.
And he and Steve Stone are going to make references to baseball players that all of us have forgotten.
Yeah. Stone's going to have a great time that night. Good for Steve.
Steve Stone's, yeah. Good for Steve.
Steve Stone deserves that. That's going to be awesome. That music means the Sox nerd. Dave Marin is on the line with his trivia nuggets and tidbits and so much more that he brings to us each and every week right here on Sox in the Basement. He also puts it up on the scoreboard at the rate, and he is having a blast this year. I get texts from him. Maybe I should go back to that, just text and get off the social media. What do you think?
It might work out for you.
Might work. I keep using the mute feature. Like I just go, okay, I'm tired of that guy's opinion. I'm the worst. Anyway, the Nerd is brought to you by the Village of Lamont. Shop, dine, drink, explore, visit the Village of Lamont. They are celebrating Route 66. They just discovered recently that the first year of Route 66 went through Lamont. So they have celebrations for the next couple of weeks and then throughout the summer as they have jumped on board with the 100-year anniversary of Route 66. See it all at lamontdowntown.com. Nerd, what do you got for me?
Chris, the arrival of newest White Sox players Riku Nishida and David Sandlin were reminders about how much I love my job thinking of, researching, writing, and displaying nuggets on the White Sox scoreboard. And, of course, passing them on to listeners of this podcast. In this role, I learn about Sox players I've barely or never heard of. Nishida, for example, notched an outfield assist before taking a big league at bat. On Memorial Day against the Twins, Nishida, playing right field, nailed Orlando Arcia at the plate to end the second. His first MLB at bat came in the next half inning. That scenario got me digging, and I discovered Nishida was the first Sox player to log an outfield assist before stepping into a big league batter's box in 6 years. The last Sox player to do this was Luis Gonzalez, not that Luis Gonzalez, on August 18th, 2020 in an empty right field when he threw out Detroit's Jacoby Jones at second base from center a half inning before he hit, and was hit, for the first time as a big leaguer. Nishida and Gonzalez joined Joe Hicks on September 18, 1959, and Jimmy Moore on April 17, 1930, as the only players in Sox history to notch an outfield and assist before their first MLB at-bat. Hicks and Moore are two of those aforementioned Sox rarely thought of by anyone. I did discover that Hicks hit .429 in 1959, which was the second highest output on the 1959 champs regardless of at-bats. As for Moore, he got those two outfield assists on opening day, but ended 1930 hitting .380 in 15 games for the A's and helping Connie Mack's team win the World Series. I wonder if we'll ever hear from those two again. Sandlin's performance in his debut sent me back to one of my favorite White Sox games ever, where a starter gave up a game-starting homer and nothing else. Sandlin had one of the most bizarre starts to a big league career on Wednesday against the Twins. The first big league pitch he threw was originally called a strike, but was overturned by ABS. The second big league pitch Sandlin threw was rocketed out of right field by Sox killer Byron Buxton for a 417-foot homer. Sandlin then settled down big time. As he was mowing down batters one after another, my mind harkened back to July 14, 1991 at Milwaukee County Stadium. On that sunny Sunday afternoon, Jack McDowell gave up a homer to the great Paul Molitor on the game's third pitch, but wound up with a complete game one-hitter in a 15-1 White Sox win. Sandlin wound up retiring the final 18 Twins he faced before departing. McDowell retired the final 14 men he faced in finishing off the Brewers. Aside from the homer, the only blemishes on McDowell's line that day was a walk and a batter who reached on an Ozzie Guillen error, but was erased on a double play. Some more nuggets and more names on Sandlin's debut. He was the first Sox pitcher to win his premiere since Matt Foster in 2020, and he was the first starter to do it since Dylan Cease in 2019. The only Sox starter to pitch more innings while giving up just one hit, as Sandlin did, in an MLB debut was Roberto Hernandez on September 2nd, 1991. Yes, future All-Star closer Roberto Hernandez began as a starter, and in his debut he went 7 and gave up just one hit against the Royals for the win. His performance was overshadowed, though, because that was the night Bo Jackson, playing on his injured hip, made his White Sox debut. Sandlin did not issue a walk in 6 innings in his debut. The only two Sox starters to throw more than 6 innings with no walks in a debut were McDowell on September 15, 1987, and Dave Frost on September 11, 1977. Oh, and Nishida and Sandlin bring the total number of players used by the Sox this year to 46. That club record of 63 in 2024 is in play. Before I get to my stumper answer and zinger, I remind you gems like these and more can be found on my WordPress blog, which you can find at soxinthebasement.com, and I am also posting on X, Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. My stumper answer? I asked who had a stolen base success rate of 93% in 2009, and it was Chris Getz. My zinger? On Memorial Day, Byron Buxton became the 524th player to appear in at least 100 games against the White Sox. The player who has appeared in the most games against the White Sox is Ty Cobb at 427. That's it, Chris. Probably more than you wanted to know about outfield assists, obscure Sox players, and Major League debuts.
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on soxinthebasement.com.